So good to see you again and just kind of catch up and see how you've been doing on your blood sugar journey. So can you share with me a little bit more about why you chose to reach out to me for help and what were some of the barriers that you were struggling with at the time?
Well, at the time that I was initially diagnosed, like I just got prescribed medication and not much else. Um, so I decided to go see a nutritionist that worked at the gym that I go to, and her approach, I mean, considering that I didn't know anything about anything, I thought it was a good idea what she was saying. I was like, sure, I'll just try this. And she proposed the approach of eating 15 grams of net carbs per meal and snack and not being clear on balancing things out with protein. And I did it, and I found it to be the most stressful month and a half of my life because I just didn't know what I was doing. I was like, okay, how much is 15 grams of net carbs for fruits? How much is that for vegetables? Because keeping in mind, she was also telling me like these are still part of your carbs, but you have to eat as much as you want. I'm like, but it's 15 grams of net carbs. This is confusing. And I started seeing your posts on Instagram, and it just kind of made a lot of sense, especially the parts where I think the posts that you have where you discuss not having to um, stop eating foods or limiting cultural foods, which is a really big deal for me because she was also telling me like, oh, like you should really like cut back on some of that, feta cheese, or whenever there's like a cultural event or a family event, you need to limit what you eat. And I'm like, but and in my head, I'm like, this doesn't work. Like I'm Greek. Like this doesn't work to limit what we eat. Like there's copious amounts of foods. I'm like, this is not gonna fly at all, especially telling me not to eat feta cheese in the salad in my Greek salad. Like, no, no, I no. It
Oh,
doesn't
thank
work.
you.
No, thank you. It is exactly what I was saying. And I'm like, okay, but this makes a lot of sense. And I was looking at your post, and it there's something that just clicked. And I remember having a couple of discussions with you on Instagram before signing up, but that was the reason why, is because you put forward a way to make it feasible for anyone really to still eat all the things that they love without having to sacrifice anything. It's just about you offered an alternative that made a lot of sense and really wasn't stressful at all. It was perfectly manageable, and I love that because I still use it to this day. I haven't stopped.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was like you because I remember, especially when we were talking, like I'm like, that's awesome. You're Greek. It's so important to
Hmm.
keep your cultural foods at the forefront of what you're doing. And cutting those things out is never going to last. That's never going to be
No.
something that's feasible and sustainable. And we should be able to honor our culture.
Exactly. And the great thing was is that your advice, it has stayed with me, but it was especially really stuck with me while I was traveling in Europe for 2 weeks. Because I mean, I ate all the food. I ate all the goulashes. I ate all the potato dumplings. I ate the desserts. Christina, we were in Hungary and we decided to indulge. We're like, you know what, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Let's go for dessert at 10 a.m. because we were
I
waiting
love
for
it.
our event to start. And I ended up having a sparkling wine dessert with a scoop of raspberry gelato, lemon gelato, and raspberry gelato on top. And I was like, you know
Wow.
what? I'm just gonna pretend I don't have diabetes for like half an hour, and I'm just gonna eat this, and it's fine. And it was so good, and I enjoyed it, and it was guilt-free enjoying food for 2 weeks because I had all the food, all of it. I
Yeah,
just
and that trip sounded amazing, especially when you're traveling. Like, it reminds me of Elizabeth Gilbert in Eat, Pray, Love. She's like, I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of worrying about every single thing I put in my mouth, and I'm not going to go to Italy and not have pizza, right? So I feel like that just reminds me exactly of this because this is your life. You get one life, and you should be able to enjoy gelato in
exactly.
Italy or have, goulash in Hungary or whatever that looks like. And the thing is, you were still able to get your blood sugars and A1C down. Yeah.
After I came back is when I had, not right after, but I think it was in November, I had a follow-up, my regular scheduled blood test to see how things were going. And I was like, oh, I wonder how this is gonna go considering how much I stuffed my face in Europe. But it actually went down again from the last one. So I was like, all right, hey. And the doctor was surprised. He's like, if all my patients could be like you, like I could actually afford to go on vacation. And I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
That is amazing. That's amazing. And that just goes to show that you don't have to cut things out. You can still enjoy foods, you can still enjoy travel, and with the
Mhm.
right tools, get your A1C down. And I was really
Exactly.
impressed by how far you've come. So can you share a little bit more about your starting A1C and where you ended up at the end of the program and even after the program? If there's also other, numerical data that you want to share, that would be great.
So I don't know about the A1C, because I only ever got the millimoles at the
Okay,
time of
that's right.
diagnosis, so I'll use
Sure.
the millimoles. So when I started, I was at 17 millimoles fasting when I did the blood test, and then after that, then after that, 3 months later, it went down to 7.2 millimoles, and then it went to 7, and then it went down to 6.5.
That is
Um,
amazing.
I did a recent one and I think I stayed the same or I might have gone down a little bit. I'm not entirely sure because I had a different doctor.
Well, that's amazing, honestly, seeing how from going from 17 millimoles down to 6.5, 7, continuing to go downwards. I mean, that's amazing.
And there was also because when I did the urine test as well, like a lot of things were really high at first when I was first diagnosed, and
Mhm.
everything there has also just continued to go down. So I mean, everything there is under control. So the ophthalmologist was like, look, as long as you keep doing what you're doing, I don't think this is anything that we ever have to worry about. So
Well,
things are just on track.
that's amazing to hear.
Now my readings in the morning have consistently been in the green and they're all under 7 millimoles, which is where I'm supposed to be aiming for. So I'm doing really well with that because I mean, these are all wins. And the fact that I'm still in the green with my injury, because I'm not going to the gym, I'm not taking walks, I'm not riding my bicycle, Christina, but they're all still in the green because of what I do have control over is what I'm eating, and I know how to balance my plate.
Yep. That's amazing, honestly. And I think, in all of those circumstances, what you really hit the nail on the head. You know what I mean? I think good blood sugar management is also um being good at adapting, being
Mhm.
able to adapt to the circumstance and the situation. And I
Yeah.
say this all the time, but I think when there's a diagnosis of diabetes, especially just being in the world that we're in, it's like there's such a fear around foods, fear around carbs. Everyone's telling you to cut things out. And
Mhm.
interestingly, like what was happening in that initial circumstance, the cutting the carbs down further wasn't helping, especially when you're being more physically active. Your body was saying, help me, I need the appropriate amount of carbohydrates.
Mhm.
And so now when you did that, you have the knowledge, you have the tools on how to do that and even how to adapt. And I just think it's so powerful that, even in the most challenging of situations, you're still able to stay within range. You're still able to not have that guilt that you used to have. Like to me, that's life changing. So I'm proud of you.
There's things that I can't control now, but there's things I still can control. So keep being able to keep that mindset and again, just know what I'm doing is just really helpful. Plus, you recommended a lot of really great products and you made a lot of great recommendations. That's a really great thing too, is that through the blood sugar collaborative group and community, like I didn't know there was all these things that are available. I didn't know about a lot of things that are available in terms of food options, I should say. And it's just such a really big help because we don't always like we don't have the same things available in Canada as you do in the US. but I mean, it's a really good, I guess, guideline to sort of know what to look for as well when I go shopping. So, I mean, it's just great.
Good. You've come such a long way. I love that. And that brings me to my next question. How
Mhm.
did the framework in the Blood Sugar Collaborative help you fill in the gaps and reach those goals?
I think a lot of it just kind of helped, uh, just kind of helped me figure things out in terms of especially portions, like that portion guide. It's really great. It's a really big help, and a lot of the modules were very informative because, like, I mean, a lot of people just think, oh, well, they got diabetes, they're just not healthy people, but a lot of people just fail to remember that if it's in your family, you can get it. And like a lot of people just don't know that. Like to look at me, people say, well, you look fine. I'm like, no, I'm fine. It's just, both my parents have it, so there was a chance I was gonna get it. So there was that, and but being having those one-on-one sessions and talking about it with other members of the community as well, and with you as well, obviously, just kind of help sort of bounce back ideas, troubleshoot things, see what other people doing in situations where they just can't figure out like one small thing or another. So that just kind of helps. And plus there's that community feeling that the program offers that is just really good. Like it's a very comforting thing because when you're going through it, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm lost. Like I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be isolating for a lot of people and just confusing. There's no doubt about that. All the information out there. So I love
Yeah.
that you felt supported. I think that's really important.
What I didn't know is, and what I had a hard time believing, I was that you told us that sugar isn't the cause of diabetes. And I was just like, I just don't understand. It's a blood sugar problem. How does sugar not? It was very educational experience as well. Because
Yeah.
I still have a little, like a little candy bar every couple of months. But I
Yeah.
have things because like I have people at work that are like, oh, it's right, you can't have sugar, you're diabetic. I'm like, no, no, but I can.
Right.
I can have the muffin, I can have the Krispy Kreme donut that filled with so much sugar. I can have it. It's just, not a whole box.
Right. Using those tools in the toolbox, as I always say. And
Yeah.
I think you really mastered that in the program and you applied it. And now you know how to still enjoy
Hmm.
those foods, whether it's cultural foods or a little treat here and there, or you and your partner go out, take a vacation,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. I think that's really beautiful to see. So you
Yeah.
have come a long way.
Thanks to you and your program. Because I mean, without it, I think I actually don't know where I'd be if I hadn't gotten the right help, because it's not an easy thing to try and navigate on your own because you don't know what you're doing. And when you have the wrong help, it just amplifies the feeling of I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And it can feel maybe even a little more isolating, I think, because it's like makes you maybe feel like, what am I doing wrong? I'm working so hard. I'm putting so much energy into this. What am I doing
mhm.
wrong? And it's never something you're doing wrong. I think that energy spent towards bettering yourself is energy spent towards bettering yourself, and the intent is there.
Yeah,
So I'm just glad that you found me too. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and working
it's
with you.
it's been great getting to know you too, Christina.
What has been the most helpful part or the biggest takeaway that you would say from the Blood Sugar Collaborative?
That I can eat all the food. I can eat all the food. That I can eat all the food, and if there's something that I'm not sure about, see if there's any swaps. Like, instead of white flour, I use whole wheat flour. I even throw in some flaxseed. Uh, but I can just eat all the food, and there's no guilt. I don't eat anything, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have had that. Like that wasn't good for me. Like it's gonna set me back. The mindset has just shifted. That's my biggest takeaway that I can have all the food. I don't have to feel bad. I know how to troubleshoot things if I have a high reading. The mindset and the mentality there is has just completely shifted. And that is a really big deal because in the beginning, like I said, I'd be testing in the morning and I'd be testing after breakfast and testing after lunch and I would be getting high readings. So I'm like I don't know what I'm doing. Like this is like I must be doing something wrong. But that all changed. It all changed in 3 months, working with you and having those conversations with the others in the group and seeing what they do and just, you know, just knowing that there's options and that it's it doesn't mean I have to restrict things that I love.
Yeah, that's
Like
huge.
I had Easter in May this year. And like I just went and I had the potatoes, I had the lamb, I had the salad, I had it all. But I didn't have to sit there and be like, oh, I can't have a lot of potatoes because this is all starchy carbs and oh my sugar is gonna go up and oh this and oh that and like none of it. I don't have to second guess anything.
That's amazing. You knew how to do it in a way that was simplified and not so overwhelming. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed too because, like you said, it's like net carbs, glycemic index, glycemic load, and it's like we don't have to overcomplicate it with all these
No.
terms. This is what you do. That's it. Apply this, do that with all meals, do that with all snacks, and you are proof that that works and you can
Yeah.
simplify it and eat those things. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, what would you tell someone who is considering joining the blood sugar collaborative or kind of on the fence about it?
Oh, just do it. Do it. Don't second guess it. And if there's anything that they're not sure about, they can just reach out to you on Instagram or wherever they're reaching out to you to get information about your program. Just do it because it's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your health, and ultimately, that's an investment that the return on investment is for life,
Mhm.
and it is worth every single penny spent. I do not regret ever doing it. I don't regret signing up. I don't regret anything about it. It is a tool that you will use forever. Just do it.